What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going over some landing spots that I think are good in Fortnite Chapter 5 Season 4. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and comment down below where your favorite place to land has been so far in Season 4. So, I've been asked to make this video because I regularly make one of these videos in like every season, but I think Season 4 is probably the most balanced a Fortnite map has ever been in terms of every named POI being very good. So like this season, basically every named POI has 5 Avengers chests, aside from the new ones, which all have 4, aside from Doom's Court, which for some reason has 0. But I think these Avengers chests are incredibly important in Season 4, and pretty much how I decide where I'm going to land is just like whichever POI I like going to at that point in time that has Avengers chests. Because like the way these Avengers chests work is they're not guaranteed spawn, but they're high percent spawn rate. And each Avengers chest is guaranteed to drop at least one Avengers item. So if you want a jetpack, landing at an area that has them is like ideal. You can get the jetpack just from regular looting, but if you have chests there that are guaranteed to drop like a shield, a jetpack, the auto turret, or the War Machine arsenal, like you have a pretty good chance of getting jetpacks if you go to spots where these Avengers chests are, especially if you're playing a team game mode and you need multiple jetpacks. Going to a POI with Avengers chests, I think, is ideal. So for that reason, I feel like named POIs are actually better this season than like unnamed spots, because there really isn't any Marvel chests or Avengers chests in unnamed locations. There is Doom chests in some unnamed spots, and the Doom chests have a small chance to drop an Avengers item, but what the Doom chests are good for is weapons. They drop 2 high rarity weapons per Doom chest. And the Avengers chests are blue, the Doom chests are like green. That's how you tell them apart. So the blue ones give you a guaranteed Avengers item, and that is, you know, a decent chance of giving you a jetpack. So every spot I'm going to talk about, aside from one, is a named POI that I think is good, and I'm like heavily prioritizing these Avengers chests. And with every named POI being really good, it's not like there's only like 3 spots that are heavily contested. I feel like each spot is like relatively unconned at times just because every POI is good. Grand Glacier, I think, is one of the spots that has gone ignored for a lot of Chapter 5, and it has 5 potential Avengers chests and a Doom chest at the nearby motel north of it. There's also 27 potential regular chests at this POI, and it's typically pretty secluded and there's not very many people here. Like you'll have an odd game where there's like several people for whatever reason because of the bus path or just like a lot of people wanting to go there. But typically this POI is more on like the chill side. And then once you finish looting it, you can rush towards Castle Doom if you want to try to get that medallion. And I feel like that POI typically also takes a while for people to clear. And there's cars at Grand Glacier, or if you get a jetpack, you should be able to, you know, get over there really quickly. If you don't really care about the medallion, there is a potential radio tower spawn on the mountain near Reckless Railway, or kind of in between Reckless Railway and Grand Glacier, that you could go for that. There's also a lot of potential weapon bunkers spawns in the area kind of around Grand Glacier, Reckless, and like kind of into the Olympus biome. So I think if you want a somewhat chill place to land, Grand Glacier is pretty solid. Another place that I feel like has been gassed up as like the best landing spot this season is going to be Rebels Roost. Like Grand Glacier, it also has 5 potential Avengers chests, and there also is a nearby Doom chest. The house itself only has 10 potential regular chest spawns though, and there is some weapon cases here to like kind of make up for it. And you should be able to loot this POI very quick, and if you have a jetpack, easily make your way towards any of the Battalion POIs. Or players if that's what you want to do. Like Doomstat is close, Castle Doom is within reach, or that person will be rotating into you probably. And the raft is the same way. It's not like Rebels Roost is right on the raft, but it's close enough. And I feel like I guess that's the main reason why people have been gassing Rebels Roost, just because it is like closer to the other POIs than Grand Glacier is. But I feel like Grand Glacier is probably a better POI if all you want to do is win, you know? And there's a lot more loot at Glacier and typically way less people landing there. I feel like Rebels Roost, you know, first few days of the season was probably the best or one of the best, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm the only one who's seen so many people gassing it, but I feel like the more people gas a spot and hype it up, the more people are going to land there, and then the less good it becomes because you have more people landing there, so there's like more of a chance you'll die to randomness off spawn. So Rebel's Roost is good, but I feel like oftentimes going to be too contested for what it's worth, especially when every POI has Avengers Chests. One unnamed spot I will talk about is going to be the beach houses. I've talked about this a lot throughout the course of Chapter 5 because it's always been a good spot. It has 15 potential chest spawns if you count the beach houses area and the nearby house up the hill. Some barrels at the docks, and then a launch pad for you to try to get to that house quickly if you want. And the NPC, the Rust NPC at this house does sell shockwaves. I wouldn't really recommend stocking up or full buying shockwaves, but maybe buy, you know, 1 or 2 purchases. That way you do have some mobility if you don't get a jetpack here, which you likely won't because it's not the most loot and there's no Avengers chest. The reason why I think this spot is still decent despite not having the Avengers chest is because it's so close to the raft POI. So if you have like really high priority on getting the medallion and getting the mythic striker burst, then going to beach houses, looting up a bit, getting at least shockwaves so you have some mobility, and then being able to quickly third party the raft POI and get that medallion, get that mythic striker burst, and very likely get a jetpack because there are several Avengers chests at raft, I think makes this spot decent. It's not really somewhere where I would want to land at this point in time, but if you do want more of like a low-key spot into the raft POI, I think this is going to be a decent spot for you to land, and you should have like a solid opportunity to clean that POI up because typically that is a very contested POI. So it'll take a while for people to loot and clear it, but also when you're rotating in, those people are probably still fighting and still going to be shambles, so you will have like an easier fight when you're coming in fresh when they've been fighting, you know. So I think beach houses are still solid, but it's not somewhere where I would really want to land. Brawlers Battleground, I feel like, has been ignored for pretty much all of Chapter 5. Even that season, people didn't really care for the Ares medallion that much. But again, this has 5 potential Avenger chest spawned and 21 potential regular chest spawns. And typically, this POI is not contested at all. Like, it's very free. It's very clear, typically. It is pretty far from all the medallion POIs, so if that's something you're worried about, you don't have the greatest opportunity to clean those up. You do probably have a decent chance of getting the radio tower that will spawn in like the desert or near the Reckless Mountain, and then there's also weapon bunkers nearby as well. So like if all you wanted to do is win and have a somewhat chill game, I think Brawlers Battlegrounds is probably one of the best POIs for you to land at. But it is, like I said, you're more limited in what you could do from this POI if you are concerned about getting the medallions. But I do think it's a good spot and should be a decent spot for wins if that's what you care about. Restored Reels is another spot that I think is good this season. It really isn't that low-key, though. You're typically going to have several people landing here, but I thought it was worth mentioning because of the improvement and how I feel about this POI now compared to the rest of Chapter 5. I never cared about Restored Reels or Ruined Reels at all, but now it has 5 potential Avengers chest spawns and 24 potential regular chests, and the NPC out front also sells a rift. So even without the rift, like you could either rift to a nearby spot, like one of the medallion POIs to try to clean that up, or jetpack over there. And I feel like with Restored Reels being the center of the map, you have a decent chance of making your way to any of the medallion POIs. Even if you don't get there fast enough to like clean them up while they're fighting the boss, you'll probably catch them as they're rotating out, you know? Like that's one of the benefits of it being in the center of the map and having an NPC that sells rift. Or one thing I do a lot of times is I'll land restored, loot the Avengers chests. If I end up not getting a jetpack, it's close enough to Grim Gate and there's like green water in between it and Grim that I can just easily spam dash over to Grim and check those Avengers chests and try to get a jetpack there if I didn't get one from restored. And then the inverse of that is also true. I still love landing Grim Gate. It also has 5 potential Avengers chests, and with it being so close to restored, if I don't get a jetpack at Grim, I can go to Restored and hopefully find one there, or like third party the fight's going on there. So I feel like the Grim Restored area is really good if you really want a jetpack, especially if you're in team game modes because you need even more jetpacks. You know, like if you need 4, that's a lot harder to get than just 1 if you're playing solos. So those are some of the spots that I recommend and that I think are really good in Season 4. But like I talked about at the start of the video, every named POI is solid this season, and with every named POI being really solid, people have spread out. And like POIs like Mount Olympus also has 5 Avengers chests. Brutal Beachhead also has 5 Avengers chests. The Rig also has 5 potential Avengers chests. And like those desert POIs from last season, I feel like are kind of forgotten about. And so The rig and brutal also great, and like I said, Mount Olympus is great. Any named POI I think is really solid this season. And if you want the jetpack, which I think is one of the most important items in the game, I would heavily prioritize landing at a named POI because they all have 5 Avengers chests. But that is going to be it for this video. As always, if you guys did find this helpful, informative, interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you would like to see more. Let me know down in the comments below where you like landing this season, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.